Hello, and welcome to our Cerenade video. In this video, we will introduce you to our new feature titled Form Defaults. With Form Defaults, you can apply settings on a form like default text and default selections. This means by creating the default setting, the form will already have those selections made when working on the form, such as the yes and no questions on the I-485. Let us show you how this works.
We will first want to access the admin portal. To access it, click on the settings icon on the top right and proceed to click on Administrative Tools. Once inside the admin portal, click on Form Defaults.
From here, you will search for the form by clicking on Add Form Defaults. Let us use the I-485 as an example. Once we search for it, click on Select. You will now be brought into the form. From here, you can add default text and select default answers anywhere on the form. We will now select a text box and enter some text. We will also locate an area that has a checkbox and yes or no questions, such as on page 10. You will go one by one, setting those default selections. Once finished adding these defaults on the form, you will click on Save and exit out. The Form Defaults page will now have the form listed in case you would like to revisit this form and apply more changes. Once inside the Caseworker portal, you will create a new case with the form, or go into an existing case and add the form. It is important to note that these settings will be applied to new forms you've added and not forms you were working on before the default settings were applied. Let us now click on the Edit button or click on the form name to open the form. Once inside the form, locate the areas you made your customizations in the admin portal. Now, as you can see, what we added in the admin portal has now appeared on this form. If we jump to the page we selected the yes or no questions, we will see they are already answered. With Form Defaults, it saves you the time entering these sections, already having them filled out. Now, you may be asking yourself, what if my client has a different answer than ones applied by the default settings? Well, you can overwrite the answers through here. Are one of the yes and no questions wrong? Simply click on and overwrite the selection. Default text wrong? Overwrite the selection as well. Form defaults aren't permanent. You can still freely change the answer if needed. But with form defaults, as opposed to manually selecting 20-30 things, you can have those 20-30 things already selected and manually change 2 or 3 things. Also, if your client has info on their client profile, it will overwrite the sections you customized, if it applies. However, if that section is blank in the client's profile, the default form setting will apply and will be seen on the form. One last thing, if there is a new edition of the form released by the USCIS or another government agency, you will need to do this again as the new form will have new sections. This concludes our video on form default settings.